Hi dears, this is Raji. To score good marks in ICSE exam, definitely you will have to solve previous year's board papers. In the previous video, we had already started with 2015 board paper. So let's continue with 2015 paper. See this question. Give an appropriate scientific reason for the following statement. Zinc oxide can be reduced to zinc by using carbon monoxide, but aluminium oxide cannot be reduced by a reducing agent. Remember, there is an error in the question. In order to reduce zinc oxide to zinc, we will be using, not carbon monoxide, but carbon, or cork you should write. Okay, you should note that. In order to answer this question, we should have an idea about the position of the elements in the reactivity series. See, potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium and aluminium. We are considering them as highly reactive. So, in order to get back these metal from their corresponding oxides and chloride, there is only one method of reduction. What is that? They can be reduced only by electrolytic method. We will have to melt the metal oxide or metal chloride and pass electricity through that. Okay. Those elements which are present in the middle of the reactivity series will be moderately reactive. So from their oxides, metal can be obtained by heating with a reducing agent. Correct? No? The metals which are present at the bottom of the reactivity series will be least reactive. They will be having less tendency towards oxygen. So from the metal oxide, the metal can be obtained by simply heating it or by thermal decomposition method. Got it? So how to write the answer? Aluminium oxide cannot be reduced by a reducing agent because aluminium is a highly reactive metal. The attraction between aluminium and oxide will be so strong, right? So due to that, metal can be obtained from the oxide only by electrolytic method. Whereas zinc being moderately reactive, if you are heating that metal oxide using a reducing agent, we will be getting back the metal from zinc oxide. Got it? You should write like that. Now see the next question. Carbon tetrachloride does not conduct electricity. What might be the reason? What's so special about carbon tetrachloride? It is a non-polar covalent compound. Non-polar covalent compounds will not be ionizing in water, right? So it will be existing only as molecules. Ions will not be present in the solution. Due to the absence of positively and negatively charged ions in the solution, they won't conduct electricity, you should tell. These many points should be there. Got it? Yes. Read the next one. During the electrolysis of molten lead bromide, graphite anode is preferred than other electrodes. When you are getting this kind of a question, immediately you can draw an electrolytic cell. Okay, this is molten lead bromide and this is the cathode and this is the anode. What will be the reaction taking place at the anode? Br minus ion, being an anion, will be moving towards the anode and will be giving away one electron and will be getting converted into bromine. Two bromine atoms will be combining together to form bromine vapors. So these bromine vapors are highly corrosive. If we are using platinum as anode, it can corrode platinum. It is costly also. So that's the reason we are using graphite anode. It will be unaffected by the vapors of bromine. Got it? Yes. Read the next one. The electrical conductivity of acetic acid is less in comparison to the electrical conductivity of dilute sulfuric acid at a given concentration. Acetic acid is an organic acid. That means it is a weak acid. What do you mean by that? It will be existing in the aqueous solution as molecules and ions also. Very less number of ions will be present and more molecules will be present. Correct? Whereas sulfuric acid is a strong acid. In its aqueous solution, it will be existing as ions as it is completely ionizing in the solution. Correct? No? So, due to the presence of more and more positively and negatively charged ions in the solution, the electrical conductivity of sulfuric acid will be greater than that of the electrical conductivity of acetic acid you should write. Correct? Yes. See the next one. Electrolysis of molten lead bromide is considered to be a redox reaction. See, we have written already the reaction taking place at the anode. Can you write what will be the reaction taking place at the cathode? Cation will be moving towards the cathode. Pb2 plus ion will be moving towards the cathode, accepting 2 electron and will be getting converted into lead metal. Remember which process will be taking place at the cathode? That is reduction. Correct? Whereas which process is taking place at the anode? Loss of electron. So this is oxidation. Correct? Yeah. So in a chemical reaction, if oxidation as well as reduction is taking place together, that particular reaction is known as redox reaction. So you will have to write the cathode and anode reaction, and you should tell that as both oxidation and reduction is taking place together in this electrolytic reaction. Yeah, this electrolysis of molten lead bromide is considered to be a redox reaction. You should write. Got it? Now see this question. Give balanced chemical equations for the following conversions A, B and C. Iron should be converted into ferric chloride. So how can you convert iron to iron chloride? Yeah, we can pass chlorine gas over hot iron so that it will be getting converted into ferric chloride, FeCl3. Now, how you will convert ferric chloride to ferrous carbonate? This part is little tricky. Yeah. If you are treating directly this ferric chloride with sodium carbonate, you will be getting only ferric carbonate. Here iron is in the +3 oxidation state and here iron is in the +2 oxidation state. Okay. So for this conversion there is a particular reaction. Write and see. To the ferric chloride solution we will be passing sulfur dioxide gas. So yeah, this ferric chloride will be getting converted into ferrous chloride, FeCl2. H2SO4 will be formed along with that and hydrochloric acid also will be formed along with it. Right. After getting ferrous chloride, we can directly convert it into ferrous carbonate. What to do? Now the oxidation state of iron in a ferrous chloride is +2. If you are treating it with sodium carbonate, yeah, you will be getting ferrous carbonate, FeCO3. Along with that, sodium chloride will be produced. Got it? Now again, how can you convert ferrous carbonate into ferrous nitrate? Easy. Yeah, you add dilute nitric acid into that. If you are adding dilute nitric acid, what will be the product obtained? You will be getting ferrous nitrate, FeNO3 twice. Whenever you are adding a dilute acid to a carbonate, you will be getting carbon dioxide and water as other product of the reaction. Got it? Yeah. Read the next one. Differentiate between the terms strong electrolyte and weak electrolyte, stating any two differences between them. So what's a strong electrolyte? It will be undergoing ionization completely, right? That means which species will be present in the electrolytic solution? Only ions, right? Yeah, whereas in a weak electrolyte, yeah, it will be undergoing ionization partially. As a result, the species present in them will be molecules and some ions also. Got it? Then again you can say that because of the presence of free mobile ions present in a strong electrolyte, they are good conductors of electricity. Correct, no? Yeah. Whereas a weak electrolyte will be a poor conductor of electricity due to the presence of very less number of free mobile ions. Got it? See this one. Explain the bonding in methane molecule using electron dot structure. So how to draw the electron dot structure of methane? There is an easy method. With pencil you can draw the structural formula of methane. Okay. Then after that draw the electron of carbon using a dot. Give a cross mark for hydrogen. Right. Then rub all the bonds between carbon and hydrogen. Then you can show the number of electrons around carbon. It is totally 8. Then show the number of electrons around hydrogen. It is 2 now, correct? So easily we drew the electron dot structure of methane. Okay. Yeah. So follow this method. It will be easy for you. Oh, got it? Yes. Now see this question. Metals of group 2 from top to bottom are beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium and barium. Which one of these elements will form ions most readily and why, they are asking. These elements belong to group 2. All are metals. Down the group, what will happen to the size of the atom? The size of the atom increases. As a result, what will happen? The tendency to give away electron also will be greater. So, which one will be forming ions more readily? That will be barium. Because of the greater atomic size, it will be giving away 2 electron readily and will be getting converted into Ba2 plus ion. So, why it is forming Ba2 plus ion? Greater the size of the atom, greater will be the tendency to give away electron or greater will be the metallic character. You should write that. Okay. See the next one. State the common feature in the electronic configuration of all these elements. What is a common feature among all this? Yeah, all of them will be having 2 electrons in its valence shell. Why? Because all of them belong to group 2. Got it? See this question. Arrange the following as per the instructions given in the bracket. So they have given certain elements and you will have to arrange them in the increasing order of metallic character. For answering this kind of questions, you will have to by heart 1 to 20 atomic number. Had better, by heart group 1 elements, group 2 elements, then group 17, that is halogens and noble gases also. It will be helping you a lot. Okay, so all these are group 1 elements. If you could by heart that, you can arrange in the order that time itself. Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. This is the order, right? Now what they are telling, increasing order of metallic character. So in order to avoid mistake, you can put a line like this. What is that? Increasing order means from smaller to bigger it will be. Okay, so that mistakes will not be coming. What will happen to the metallic character down the group? Down the group, size of the atom will be bigger. So due to that, metallic character also will be greater. Increasing order will be lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium. Correct? We got the answer. Now read the next one. Magnesium, chlorine, sodium, sulfur and silicon. Decreasing order of atomic size. So how to answer this question? In this case, you will have to write the atomic number. So arrange the elements from left to right in the increasing order of atomic number. So what will be the order? First sodium will be coming, then magnesium will be coming, then silicon, then sulfur and then only chlorine will be coming. Now what they are asking? Decreasing order of atomic size. Left to right, what will happen to the size of the atom? Size of the atom decreases. Correct, no? So this is the order. We got the answer. Okay, yes. Now see the next question. Sodium, potassium, chlorine, sulfur and silicon. Increasing order of ionization energy. In this case also, arrange them in the increasing order of atomic number. You will have to remember one thing. Sodium and potassium belong to same group, right? Potassium will be coming just below sodium. So left to right, what will happen to the size of the atom? Size of the atom decreases. So what will happen to the ionization energy? Ionization energy also will be increasing. Correct? Yes. Whereas down the group, what will happen? Ionization energy decreases. Okay, so in which order you will have to arrange the elements? Maximum ionization energy is for chlorine in this case. And minimum ionization energy is not for sodium, but it will be for potassium. So what will be the order? Potassium, sodium, then silicon, then sulfur and chlorine. Got it? Last one. Chlorine, fluorine, bromine and iodine. Increasing order of electron affinity. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. This is the order in which group 17 elements are present. We are expecting the maximum electron affinity for fluorine. Whenever an upcoming electron is approaching fluorine, electron-electron repulsion will be taking place. The upcoming electron and the electrons which are present in fluorine atom will start repelling. Because of that reason, greatest electron affinity is for chlorine. So you should remember that. So increasing order of electron affinity they are asking. Maximum electron affinity will be for chlorine. Yeah, minimum electron affinity for iodine. Then only other elements will be coming in between. Got it, no? Now, see this question. Choose the most appropriate answer from the following list of oxide which fit the description. Each answer may be used only once. So, they have given some list of oxide and you will have to choose appropriate one. A basic oxide. Remember, metal oxides are generally basic in nature, right? No, and non-metal oxides are generally acidic in nature. Okay, so if you are remembering this concept, you can answer so many questions, right? Now, which one is a basic oxide? Definitely you will have to choose a metal oxide, right? Yeah, so here sodium oxide is also there, magnesium oxide, aluminum oxide. I am choosing sodium oxide, Na2O. If any change is required, later we will change it. Okay, yeah. Now see this one, an oxide which dissolves in water to form an acid. That means, yeah, it should be an acidic oxide. Non-metal oxides will be acidic in nature. Okay, yeah. So answer is sulfur dioxide. Why I am not choosing carbon monoxide? Remember, carbon monoxide, nitric oxide, water and N2O. All these are neutral oxide. You can note it down. Okay. So carbon monoxide is neutral in nature. Okay. Next question, an amphoteric oxide. Amphoteric oxides are the ones which can act as a base also as well as an acid also. Out of this, which is the option? That is aluminum oxide. Remember, oxides of aluminum, zinc, lead and tin, they are amphoteric in nature. Okay, so here the appropriate answer is aluminum oxide. A covalent oxide of a metalloid. So I will go for silicon dioxide, SiO2. Silicon is a metalloid. So they are asking a covalent oxide of a metalloid, that is SiO2. Got it, no? Now see this question. Element X is a metal with valency 2 and Y is a non-metal with valency 3. Right? Write an equation to show how Y forms an ion. Remember, Y is a non-metal. Non-metals are electron acceptors. So in order to attain stability, it will be accepting electron. Correct? So they have already told that its valency is 3. So what do you mean by that? In order to attain stability, it will be accepting 3 electron. So how to write that? Y will be accepting 3 electron and it will be forming Y3 minus. Agreed? Now see this one. If Y is a diatomic gas, write an equation for the direct combination of X and Y to form a compound. Y is a diatomic gas they are telling. So how to write that? It is Y2. Yeah. Then how it will be combining with X? X is a metal, no? So it will be monoatomic. It will be combining as such only. X plus Y2. So using the valency, you will have to find out the formula of this compound. How can you write that? Yeah, X and Y we will write. What is the valency of X? 2. What is the valency of Y? 3. Crisscross method. So what will be the formula of the compound? X3, Y2. 3X and Y2 will be combining together to form X3, Y2. Easy. The rest of the questions of 2015 paper we will be discussing in the next video. You keep on working hard.